Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect, One Word Conversations. One Word Conversations is a self-discovery, relationship-building conversation designed to help you be yourself and live your life. Wow, it's been a long way to get here, but it is so exciting. What was a fleeting thought of mine to bring a number of the guests back to have a conversation about their word and how it's been showing up in their life, and I guess just see them again. You know, sometimes when you have good friends, you just want to like hang out with them, just find ways to hang out with people. So that's what we're doing today. So I have picked cards from IamWilliamBrown.com, our U cards, to set the intention for today's show. And the cards that I picked is I am lovable, you are worthy, and it's you I like. So with that in mind, I am going to hopefully hit one button and then everyone will appear. Yay! Right? It's like, I love it when a plan comes together. It's like, you know, I've been doing so many episodes here and I still find ways of like, I don't want to say screwing this up, but finding something new. So with that in mind, I am going to ask all you wonderful people to reintroduce yourselves and let me know how your word that you had on the show is showing up or not showing up since our show. So we'll start off with Teddy. Welcome back.
William, thanks for having me back. Thanks for bringing me back with a group of really cool people. So who I am Teddy Burris, and I'm a North Carolina native. And my word is kind, and it's something that I strive to, it's an act. It's a lifestyle that I try to live. Often, as William referred to in another conversation earlier, I make mistakes doing that, but I try hard to correct my mistakes. How have I seen that word show up since we last talked? I'll give you one real quick story. Elderly in-laws who are struggling. I've seen his entire family just jump in with no debate, no challenge, no self-concern, and rotate across 24-hour days for 3 weeks in a row. And my wife and I, who are 300 miles away, went up to participate in this with no concern, rotate in and stay with them. There were 7 of us total, stayed with the my elderly in-laws, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and help them through lots of chaos. And that's kindness, when you can do that with no challenge, no debate, no bickering, no arguing. And it's a blessing to see it, and it's a blessing to be a part of it.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. I think, you know, the one thing that I learned from our conversation is that kindness starts with yourself, right? And then the more that you're kind to yourself, then it's effortless to be kind and show up for other people. So thanks for that. So Gina, you are next. And Gina, you are frozen. Okay, okay, now the mute is off, so now you're up. No, it's back on. Do you want me to come back to you, or are you ready? Don't you just love conversations that go exactly the way you want them to go, right?
And technology.
And technology. Gina, we're going to come right back to you. We're going to go to Dimple, and we'll see if that mute button will work for you. So Dimple, good morning. Welcome back.
Hi. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. And I think that conversations that go as planned are too boring. So this is actually a lot more fun. Yeah, so I'm Dimple Dabalia. I'm the founder and CEO of Roots in the Clouds. And my word was remember. And it was such a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you about it. And we kind of went down this road about the root of remember being mindful. And
Mm,
it's definitely shown
yeah.
up for me a lot this year. I've been doing a lot of work in the mindfulness arena, but for me, remember has shown up in 2020, especially as a way to just be mindful of all the things that are really important in life. I think that this year has forced all of us to slow down quite a bit and reevaluate priorities. Things that used to feel so important don't necessarily feel as important anymore.
Right.
And so it's just been about that, about remembering, like, what is it that's really important in life? What are, those connections that we have, the people that we interact with, and especially, having to be socially distanced and everything else this year. I think it's made it all that much more important. And so that's really how it has shown up for me a lot this year, is just kind of keeping that at the forefront. So,
Yeah, I mean, remember, as I mentioned within our conversation, remember is, my word of the year.
that's right.
And there was a lot of, unpacking of that word for me within our conversation. So yeah, it's definitely showing up, and it was really kind of interesting that the mindfulness part of it, and that's so much a part of your work too. So yeah, I definitely remember that. So Gina, how are you're back? You're not on mute.
Yay!
Um,
I got it back.
hey.
No, thankfully. Good morning, despite some technical issues, but of course we always have to have. And now I'm losing my headphone. I am just not doing good this morning. I guess I have to continue to learn.
Right.
Well, I'm a local real estate agent in this wonderful city of Greenville, and I strive to help families attain their dream of home ownership. And I have a little bit of a niche where I came from a animal rescue background, and so I do donate 1% of my net commission to animal rescue efforts in the area. So it's a little
Mm,
bit of a shameless plug there. And of course, in this year, we just had to learn and adapt to everything. So it was just a perfect word for me. The
mm.
way we did everything was just changed.
Yeah. So it's
So
the I do remember. I am um, there's an assessment thing that I did, and I was labeled a maven. And so I love learning and learning for no reason. And my shadow thing was being a sage. So and then teaching what I'm learning. And so um, learn is a big part of me. The one reason why it's kind of funny, I am like an internal giggling because the next person that I'm going to bring up is Lisa, is because she earlier on her show, she was talking about,
mhm.
I guess her husband was talking about getting a house and having a dog and all that other kind of stuff. And Gina, you're like a pet realtor, so you're like right next to her. So it's just like hilarious. So I'm sure it means absolutely nothing. I'm not going to
I
make that
am.
mean anything. Right here. But Lisa, you
That
are
is
next.
awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Bill, for having me on. It's so great to be on with such an amazing group of fo- smiling faces. I love everybody and all of the different smiles that we have. I am Lisa Santiago McNeil, and I am the coach's coach and publisher extraordinaire. I am living the word celebrate. I have had the opportunity to live this word this year, helping people to celebrate making new decisions, helping people to celebrate succeeding in areas where they didn't think that they could, helping them to celebrate long awaited goals that they thought were beyond their grasp. And sometimes the success came after the celebration. Because so often we wait until the end to celebrate, but if we celebrate the steps along the way, we actually increase the momentum with that kinetic energy. We raise our vibrations and we can actually accomplish the thing that we're trying to get to more quickly than we could if we waited until whatever the date is of that thing to come to fruition. So I am grateful that I had the opportunity to chop it up with Celebrate with you and the audience, not just on our broadcast, but throughout the year. We celebrate almost breaking 100 authors this year.
Okay.
We are celebrating helping almost 100 people who thought that their story should be told to actually get it out there and in a bigger way during the universe being on timeout.
Right.
So we celebrate the versatility and we celebrate pivoting. I just celebrate you and you picking up the mantle of happy. And I celebrate everyone learning how to do things differently when life turned them around.
Wow. And the one reason I picked that word and it was and the show was on my birthday. So it was really fun to really embrace and unpack Celebrate, on that day with you. So that was definitely fun. And I had my cake with my name on it. I don't know if you remember that, right? But there's a whole story behind that cake without my name on it, because there was a lot of other people's name on it when I was growing up. So so that was great. So thank you. So Gloria Ann, you moved up when everybody shifted around, so you're next.
I did. All right. So I'm Gloria Ann Jones. And if you had an opportunity to watch our show, I was actually outside in nature up in Lake Placid, New York. And my word is control. And towards the end, there was that crow that was so loud and boisterous. Do you remember him?
Right, I do.
I looked up crow afterwards because I'm like, there obviously has to be a meaning for this. And what I found was really cool. So control is my word. Hey, 2020, everybody lost control of all of their plans. Everything kind of veered off the road. So what do? Right? So that crow symbolizes, flexibility, adaptability, a higher perspective, obviously because they fly. And then the cool thing that I didn't know about crows was personal transformation. So now So now your plans, that map, that roadmap that you did, I'm here on March, 13th, and now it's, the end of December, where in the world did I go? So it's that journey, that inner journey that you had to take. And if you were flexible with it, it didn't hurt as much.
Right.
But if you needed to have that control to that plan, that, that road is now over there and you've already exited, we have already exited, we need to find another way. And it's that personal transformation, that inner, time, because we had time. We had a lot of time, and adaptability, flexibility, it's what you needed. So the control part of it was saying it's okay to not stick to that plan that I had. And I had tons of plans. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I'm there with you, right?
From planning on, birthday parties, weddings, whatever. it was all in there: concerts, trips, and planning to live another day too, right? So we
Right.
have to kind of settle into ourselves and
Mm.
look for that, how we can transform into this moment, and
Wow.
that's what's within our control.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Now, it's kind of funny as the host of the show, when that crow came up, I was like, oh, good Lord, now I have to deal with crows, right? But yeah, it was giving us a message there. So thank you.
Yeah.
Michelle, you're next.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting all of your guests back. It's been so edifying to see everyone and hear additional commentary on everyone's words. And I am Michelle Perry of successfuldiligence.com, where you can learn all about me. I won't go into all my accolades, but my word was grief. And, talking about grief in a different way than how most people think about it. Because for me, grief is a noun, an adjective, and a verb. It is a companion that walks with us from birth until we leave the earth. And it really showed up for me Christmas Eve specifically, but even anticipatory grief. We have 3 dogs. We had 3 dogs. Our oldest one was almost 11, and we had to say goodbye to him on Christmas Eve. And he was the first dog that we got as a married couple, my husband and I, of 14 years. And it was heartbreaking and heart-wrenching. And walking through that grief journey while celebrating the birth of, my savior, I happen to be a Messianic Jew, was very interesting dynamic. And still having 2 other dogs who are alive and need attention and love. And so I'm actively grieving, and it's interesting to walk the journey and surrender to that companion of grief during this particular season, in this particular year of the pandemic, when so many people are getting to know grief and surrendering to that journey and that process. So it's very real and close and active for me at this point.
Wow. Thank you. And I'm sorry for, it's like, sometimes, you say sorry for your loss and all that kind of stuff. And it's not enough, because it's like we're all, it's a gift, it's that companion, right? Throughout our journey, it's always present and it's not present, right? In
Exactly.
our
And
life.
it's funny because Lisa's word of celebrate resonated with me this morning, and her energy of like celebrating, because his name was Bachi. And so Bachi lived a full life. He was loved. He was never alone a day in his life. He had adventures. We moved cross country 4 times in 3 years. So he's lived across the country, coast to coast, experienced both oceans, And so saying goodbye to him in a loving way, with his dignity intact in my arms in love, was a gift. And so, yes, I'm sad, and yes, I miss him, and yes, the tears come, but I'm so grateful for the gift of having him for 11 years as a puppy companion, and watching him grow and have fun and all the memories. So, grief doesn't have to be painful if we surrender to the journey of it and allow ourselves in truth to just walk with grief and sorrow until we can kind of walk into a new season. So that's sort of how I look at it.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. Dixon, welcome back.
Hello, I am Dixon. Thanks for having me. It is exciting to be back.
And shift over to the left or right a little, or see half of you, or if that's what you're going for, the look.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, you're all in there.
Perfect. All right, so I'm Dixon. I was thinking about an introduction, and to be honest, I'm still working on that. And so some things that came to mind is, I'm a Black gay male. And I have been wrestling with that as I look at engineer, because that's not only who I am. So trying to engineer who am I, where am I going, and how does that look? So that would be my introduction of Dixon. When I think about my word, when we look back over 2020, we've all have been called to engineer our lives in a new way. due to the uncertainty, due to how it's been good, it's been bad. Many of us have been just at the door of who knows what's going to be next. And so when you think about engineering, you have to produce creative solutions to real world situations or real world problems. And we have all gone through some real problems this year. So I have been very grateful to start this process probably about 2 to 3 years ago, and to be able to apply what I have learned in that time frame in this journey. William, I just tell you, it's so uplifting. It's so satisfying to know that regardless of how you were raised, the condition, the environment, you can engineer your life. You can create, chart something different, but it takes work, it takes discipline, it takes determination, but it also takes having tough conversations with yourself. And the good thing about 2020 is that we have all been forced to have some tough conversations, regardless if we entertained them or not, if we answered the questions, if we talked back. We've all been forced to have tough conversations. And from that, you're able to engineer a new path, a new life, a new destiny. So that's how it's been showing up for me. And I'm really excited. I've taken this time to really rest, to really use COVID as an excuse not to do things, not to go places. And I am excited for 2021 because when you think about an engineer, they create the blueprint and then they build it.
Right.
And so we have all been given the space to create a blueprint.
And now it's time to build, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. I definitely remember that, and what are we creating right now? Right, we can recreate. So, Paulette, welcome back.
Well, hello. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be back. I am Paulette. I am the story expert coach for ambitious Christian women who want to write books. And my word for 2020 was progression. And coming into 2020, I absolutely had no idea what that word meant until we were faced with COVID. And progression, when you think about it, is the process of developing or moving gradually toward a more advanced state. And so it's been showing up for me because I had to learn how to not only still be progressive in my business and even in my personal life, even when everything was on pause, even when everything stood still, I still had to have a mindset that I wanted to progress. I still had to have a mindset and a determination to move forward, even in the midst of everything else stopping. And so that meant pivoting my business. That meant me being more creative. That meant me being more innovative. I had to go deep within myself and pull out creativity that I didn't even know exist in these moments, you know? And so it's been showing up great for me because I've learned how to move at a pace gradually and still get some results that I probably would have rushed through, you know, at a normal pace. And so it's been a great year. It's been a great learning process for me, but it's also been a year that I have been able to just really dig deep within myself and find out who I am in moments of adversity. Moments that, you know, even though the world has stopped, even though God has said, okay, everybody is on time out right now, I think you guys need to just, you know, chill out. and really to find a place within myself and my business and my environment that I could still gradually move forward. I could still gradually go to another level. I could still gradually advance, and I could still gradually meet the needs of, my business, and still be creative and do the things that I've always been creative to do and purpose to do in life. And so it's been showing up for me, and I'm looking forward to what God has for me in 2021 and the word that he's given me for that. And so, yeah.
Bro, great. Thank you very much. I think a part of our conversation, I got clear on, on my coaching, I invite people to have an actionable awareness of themselves. And it's that progression. It is not, too often when I try to get awareness of myself, it is I sit in the corner and kind of find myself, right? Right. So, and it's like, no, this is not a time for that. This is a time to be in action and have that awareness of yourself. And I think progression within that. So thank you. So Manuel, you are up next.
Actionable awareness of oneself. I really like that. Hi, I'm Manuel. I use this life's time and energy to help people and companies to integrate more values and virtue and compassion and kindness and goodness into their life and work as, choose your label, coach, consultant, spiritual teacher, whatever. We are adding a label every show I'm on, actually. I think it's the third time already. And I'm William said before we went live, I was the one who's taking the blame for it, or the praise. I don't know. You can explain that later, William. My words were consciousness and responsibility, and this has been actually a very interesting year, and maybe I also take the blame for the lockdowns, because just 2 weeks before the lockdown was official, I wished for being able to go into retreat without being really in a retreat. I was responsible for some projects, so I needed to be reachable. At least I needed internet connection, but at the same time, I wished for a retreat without going to the monastery and so on. And so there came my retreat. I was able to meditate 4 hours a day, but still having a cell phone that's turned on.
So it's your fault, right?
It's me. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's me. Thank you. So obviously, I'm still into consciousness and responsibility with what I do, and after our last conversation, it really showed up in a new way of what is some teacher called it enlightened action, or what is the right action, or what is a rightful action, or wholesome action, or whatever you want to call it. So I really love Teddy's elaboration on kindness, and Dimple's remembering mindfulness, and putting that together, thinking about, okay, what am I doing that for? What is the benefit and what's the cost of what I am doing? That came up in a totally new light, and that is what I work with people upon, and try to have a new look on your actions, may it be in business or in private life, but what am I doing, and what is the true cost if we see the big picture?
Great. Wow. Well, thank you very much. There has been a level of consciousness, right, and taking of responsibility in this year that's definitely they come up. And so Manuel, he's ahead of us. He's in Germany right now. So so he is one of the our global people that are part. So we have a couple minutes before a number of you have to step out. So Teddy and Gina and Lisa, I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of say your last words or anything, what your feelings were about being on the show and all that other kind of stuff. Anything that you want to wrap up with. Everybody gets a minute, right? You know, to kind of go from there. So Teddy, you're up. I can't hear you, Teddy.
You may remember that every year I pick a word of the year. And I was pondering continuing with kind, but I decided to use another word for 2021, and that is to breathe. And so I wrote a really neat article. I spent some time really thinking about what does breathe mean in lots of different contexts, and how can we use breathing to help us through life and help us to achieve our goals and help us to learn and to celebrate and for progression and for engineering ourselves forward. You can't achieve any of these ideas that we talked about unless you're willing to seriously look at how you're breathing. So that's my word of the year for 2021 is to breathe. So thanks for letting me be on here, William. I appreciate
Thank
you, sir.
Blessings, my friend. Gina, you're up next. So I will tell you a trick, Teddy. You can just like step out. This is in the Baptist church. You know, if you have to step out of church early, you just put your finger up and you just kind of step out, and you can go there. So you know, just that one was for free. So so if you can just need to do that, you can just do that. So Gina, you're next.
I just want to thank you again for doing this. This is such a great opportunity for all of us to kind of get together and, you know, listen to each other, because we often don't do that, especially right now. You know, and I just want to continue to learn in 2021 and hope everybody continues to learn and adapt. And hopefully this craziness will, I don't want to say it'll be over, but it will be definitely better in 2021.
Right. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you. It's been
here, and see you on the other side.
all right. Wonderful. So Lisa.
Yes. So as I was contemplating for 2021, I felt like we've learned that we no longer have any excuses, right? We've learned through 2020 that there's no excuse because we made it through. But instead of saying no excuses, I thought, what about reasons? The reasons that we're here, the reasons that we're here, we can do anything, no matter what, because you already got through being put on timeout for an entire year. You're still here, you're still alive, you might have accomplished something, and that means those are all reasons that you can do more than you ever thought you could. Hang on to those reasons and let me see what you create in 2021. I love you guys.
Wonderful. Thank you. Blessings. I will see more of you, and we can go from there. So we are going to be, there's a couple people that are coming in. As you can see, we have a new person in, and there's another new person that is in, so we can like keep it moving. So yeah, this is fun. So I don't know whose mic that is, but that's fun. So yeah, that was yours. So we are going first name and our word, if you can do that. If not, we can just start. So we'll start. I actually forgot how to pronounce your name. And I think we're one more person coming in, so we'll be up to full again. So I'm telling you a secret. The secret is most of the times during our show, I didn't say any of your names because that's a phobia that I have, that I will mispronounce your name. In this last couple days, I've been saying people's names, and kind of working out. So is it Rodell? I don't know. You're up.
Okay, it's Rudell.
Rudell, hey, you're a drag. It's so great. So
Not a
I
problem.
will love you to reintroduce yourself. We'll kind of work through the noise. It's kind of distracting for me. And the word that you had, and just kind of let people know.
Okay, my name is Rudell James. I live in the U.S. Virgin Islands. My word was cooperation. And what I wanted to emphasize in that is that we either cooperate with God or we do not. And with Satan, we don't have to cooperate at all. Either we consciously choose to cooperate with God, or we're automatically cooperating with Satan. So as a teacher, finally accepting the gifts that God has given me. In my last years here before retirement, I'm now into writing books. Lisa is my publisher, and I just completed my 6th book, and she's working on that. So I have my 5th book that I'm gonna do a shameless plug. I don't know if you can see that, but it's called VI Melee. So in cooperating with the gifts that God has given me, I'm now into writing books, and I'm now into teaching and doing the things that He's made it so easy for me to do. So without cooperating with God, in my opinion, we're automatically cooperating with the devil.
Right. Well, thank you very much. I remember in our conversation how there was a choice. There was a choice in that cooperation, so that I really got for myself. So thank you very much, and welcome back. So if you can put yourself on mute, and Tandis, you came in to the Lock Studio next. So so you're up next.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be with you, and it's so good to be back with you, Bill. My word, or actually I'm joining you from, I don't know how many Canadians you've had on the show this year, but I love to see the international representation in the community. But I'm joining you all from Whistler, BC, Canada. And I spend my days supporting leaders, trailblazers, change makers to do what they're here to do in the world, but to really thrive and enjoy their lives while they do it. So I get to have juicy conversations every day as well with amazing change makers. So getting to join you this year was such a gift. Such a gift. I just love juicy conversations, and you've done an amazing job, William, of just curating space this year. A lot of respect for the level of devotion it's taken to have all these conversations this year. Super impressed. A lot of respect. What's possible? What's possible when you wonder what you can do and what you can create? So yeah, our word was possible, and
Right.
It's one of my favorite words, and I think a space I spend a lot of time in, getting curious about, and in that space of wonder about what is, and that presence. And I love the exploration today around kind of mindfulness and gratitude and celebrating kind of what is. But before we can then engineer, it's like wonder what might be possible. And that's a really powerful space, I think, for us to be in. And I think it's been an incredible year, actually, for what's possible and exploring possibility. Because I think we tend to live in this tension, right, between what is and what's possible. And this year, I think, more than many, has really shaken up what is, which actually I think makes a lot of space for what's possible, and to see how we as individuals, as organizations, as societies have pivoted and very quickly not only engineered but built new ways of being and doing. Like if you look at accessibility of workplaces, how I'm like, no, we've got to be butts and seats in an office 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. Like we've known that that's kind of BS for a long time. And yet organizations, it was impossible to do anything different. And then like that this year to watch those possibilities come into play, ways of finding connection when we can't physically be with one another. So yeah, I think the word possible has continued to live out definitely in my life, but in our world for sure.
Right. It's it's really, you know, you were I think a part of the first full week of the show, and you know, I had no idea of what was possible, right? And really embracing the possible in my life was it was a challenge, but it was a noble endeavor. And so I'm just so glad that from our conversations and the connections that I have to encourage me to kind of look to the possible. So so thank you, and
Good for you.
welcome back. Okay, here we. You know, I just noticed. I looked over. I haven't been putting the comments up, but I just noticed that my wife is in the comments. She's going to be on the show tomorrow, and so she has jokes. You know, so she mentioned that she can attest that I didn't say her name for the first month of us dating because I didn't want to get it wrong, right? It's but hey, look, in 2 weeks we'll be celebrating 30 years of marriage, so I guess I got it right, right? But okay, the next opportunity for me to mispronounce someone's name is it's like, don't say it. I know your word is status. So help our brother out, right?
It's Sabrina, and I am joining you guys from Colorado. It's all good. I get called a lot of things. I've got 4 little kids running around, so I'm usually somebody's mom. But yeah, I totally get the name thing. You are not the only person. But no, I love what everybody has said about their words. And I think that this is such a cool project that you're doing, because taking a word and being able to really take apart what that means, we don't really do in our society anymore. We just say words and hope that we know what they mean, but then they mean different things to different people. And so when you were like, let's talk about status, I was like, oh man, this is an interesting one to talk about. So to introduce myself, I'm Sabrina Budwell. I am an email marketing and digital marketing strategist. And I worked solely by myself for many, many years. And then when the pandemic hit, I hired on my husband, which was a huge status shift for us from woman stays at home and cooks in the kitchen with bare feet, and man goes to work. And so that was really hard on our families. And we also break the status within our own industry, because we say, screw the funnel and start the journey. So we really focus on the journey for the people that are within your community, rather than getting them onto an email list and then funneling them down into whatever you're trying to sell to them, because it doesn't seem authentic. And so people know that it's not, you're just wanting a check. You're not wanting to really help them with whatever you're doing. And most of us didn't get into business to just make money, because if you do, you won't last in this industry. So we really saw status come out over the holidays, because, you know, being with family and making your living primarily off of being online is just not what our parents are used to. So they're like, this is weird. Like, why are you in front of a computer all the time? What are you playing? And so it was really interesting to see just how different generations even view the status of who we are and what we do, especially with like what you were saying, Tanis, about possibility and the whole butts and seats thing that, you know, every time we drove by, because I've been at home for over 4 years now working, every time we drove by a huge building, I was like, this isn't going to last much longer. The 80s aren't going to last much longer. And then one day it was gone, and I was like, oh, I knew this day was coming. I didn't think it would be like this, but it came.
Right. Wow. So yeah, it's great. I mean, there is a lot of layers and levels within status that we talked about, and that we're still living out. So thank you. So okay, so here's a round robin question. So the first person that comes in that can answer this. The question that I have for everyone that is here, that what was the first thing that went through your mind when I invited you to have a one-word conversation? So what did that look like for you? Okay. Manuel, go ahead.
I was thinking, oh hell, he's really doing it. Or maybe you have to explain the background. Oh, you did already. I don't know. I was thinking, wow, he's really going for it, and we will see how long it lasts, and we will see if he is doing it only 3 days per week, or if he really is doing it on a daily basis. Because I remember there was
Right.
something you were thinking about doing it only
Right.
twice a week.
Yeah.
or so.
It's like
Yeah.
what, that was the idea. It was like, okay, I'm going to have this conversation. I'll do it 3 days a week, and we'll just see how it goes. That's how I looked at what was possible, right?
Right.
It's like, we'll see. And I knew after our first conversation that if I didn't do it daily, I wouldn't be committed to it. And I was like, okay, what the hell am I just saying right now?
Right.
And here we are, right? So that was great. So, Gloria Ann?
Yeah. So where I was in my life at the time that this popped up, I wanted to start a podcast. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to do this. So I'm going to see what other people do. And I jumped at the opportunity, and everything came together. So you have been really instrumental in helping me create my podcast. And it's just, I love how just all goes around. And I think when people, and it kind of goes back to control too, when people want to do something, but they don't know how to do it, and they want to kind of do it like the right way, and, not make mistakes, then they don't do it. They don't put themselves out there to see, how does this work? And I had such an enjoyable time. And yeah, my podcast was born. It was awesome. I love it. I love participating with everybody here. I love it. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Wow.
So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyone else want to tackle that? Okay, go ahead. I'm not going to say your name, right? Just unmute. You're still on mute.
Okay, it's Rudell. Yeah, no problem. When you invited me, the first thought that came to me was, that's what I get for cooperating with God. Because the one thing I wanted to do was to be in a place where I could share His word. My second book title is Words in a Moment. So I have plenty words as a teacher, but I have to start with one word at a time. And so when that opportunity came, I said, William, you don't know this, but I've been following you before I met you with your book. And then I said, well, eventually God's going to open a door. And He actually opened a portal with your show, with the one word conversation. And so one word at a time, but it leads into simply the opportunity to cooperate with God and go where He wants me to go, and to say what He wants me to say. So if this is where we're starting, so be it.
That's
Thanks
great.
a lot.
And Rudell, I got it, right? I wrote it down, right?
You got it. You got it. Good. Very good. Very good.
It's one of the things that Gloria Ann said, that I love the cheer. You guys are such encouragers. That there's still this thing in me to do it right and make sure that it's right. And even though there's all of these imperfect actions that was this show and all these amazing things that happen, I get still reminded that if I don't do it right, it's not going, it's not going to happen. And I did it in real time because I was so concerned about not saying your name right. I didn't say it. So I didn't do it. And so if I get any lessons out of this, it is just say it. I'll get corrected or not, but it's done, right? Right. So there's this control thing. I don't know if that's the the podcaster label that wants to be perfect or something. I don't know. It's one of those many labels that I have that show up within the conversation. So, all right, there is the next question, because we have a little bit of time here. I've been going a little bit about 10 minutes after the hour, if you're able to do that. The other thing that I wanted to ask is that what was having a conversation like this free-flowing conversation and just sharing your thoughts. I think too often it feels like that when I'm listening to people, they're not sharing their thoughts. They're just, buy my stuff, or, or this is the message, or on point. Many of the people that haven't been on my show, and I'm not trying to call people out because that's, what they do. We've been conditioned to do that. It's like, I don't know what to say. I don't have this script and all that kind of, I need a script. You got to do all that. I'm not just going to come on and ramble, right? Type of thing. So what was it like just being yourself and having a conversation in front of other people? Michelle, I saw your hand.
It was incredibly freeing for me because it was unscripted. And, when you first invited me, I had been watching you before, so I was excited and really looking forward to it. And then I got my word of grief, and I was like, oh, man, the deflation of the balloon, because it's such a heavy, messy, hard word. What am I going to say? People don't like to talk about it. And what I loved was that it just unfolded the way it was supposed to, the conversation. And loved the self-awareness that came for you in our conversation, that came for me, and allowing that process to unfold was so freeing. There was so much freedom in it for me, and it was exciting because you're discovering yourself in that moment of being self-aware and mindful. And so I just love that aspect of what you do in the show. And I just was so grateful for the opportunity to be able to participate in it.
There has been moments where, I'll watch some of the show, and sometimes I'm in the show and it's like, holy crap. I don't know what else to say right now. And it's like my mind is
but it's perfectly imperfect.
It's like,
you show up and you're perfectly imperfect, and that is what is relatable, because we're all humanly perfectly imperfect, and you giving yourself permission to do that sort of opens up the door for other people to give themselves permission to do that, which is such a gift for everyone. So I just encourage you to keep doing it.
Anyone else? Manuel, I see your hand. Okay, and then I'll get you Dimple and Dimpolette. Go ahead, Manuel.
I think it was a very good idea to do it live, because that was my experience with the stuff I did as well. I didn't do it daily. I had a once a week thing, and comparing that to recording our podcast episodes, you really can see when people are like, okay, I am live anyway, so I will stutter, or I will make mistakes that aren't really any, and just being authentic and natural, and just allowing that flow of heart to mouth without overthinking it, allowing that to happen. I think that's so wonderful to witness, and I think that is what it's really about. And I think it's essential to what you're doing here, because everything else would have been okay, how do you define that word? How do you define that word? And this is just, okay, what comes to your mind, what comes to your heart, and try to explore it together with all these wonderful people. And I really, really enjoyed our conversations and watching the conversations you had with others.
Right. It's kind of funny. I feel like Bob Ross, Happy Little Accident, because the main reason why I stream live is because I wouldn't be at 250, because I would edit a 40-minute conversation down to like 10 minutes because of all the things that I said or didn't want to say would be gone. So I said, okay, I'm not going to do that. I don't get time for that. We're just going to go from there. So because of me knowing that about myself, I've been able to really touch into my heart. So Dimple, you had something that you wanted to bring to this.
Yeah, I wanted to build on what Michelle and Manuel both were talking about. I think, most of us are kind of high performers, and we have this edge of perfectionism, if not full-on perfectionists. And that's a lot of the work that I've been doing with myself and with other people this year is, looking at that self-compassion side and moving away from the perfectionism. And, I think, I just want to acknowledge you for having the courage to do something like this and to do it live, because I think that's huge. But I think that, the authenticity that comes through really just can't be understated. And also the insights, right? I think if you try to overscript things and try to edit things down, you lose some of those insights that come up as a result of being in this free-flowing conversation. And I didn't know what to expect when you asked me to be on the show. And then when I got my word, I kind of had the same reaction where I was like, remember. And it turned out to be amazing because, it made me look at the word from a whole different perspective and go down this road that I would not have thought to think about. And it was just so much fun, and so I have really enjoyed watching the other people that you've had on and kind of the insights that have come through their conversations. And it just has made me think about things a little bit differently. And so, thank you for that and for the opportunity as well.
Paulette.
Yeah, for me, it's been real amazing because when I saw you, put it out there about being on the show, and I thought one word, interesting, because it had never been approached to me about being on a show, and your only focus is the word that you've gotten for the year. And so it allowed me to really dig deep to really evaluate what that word meant for me. And then the conversations that we had was very organic. It was just natural, and when you have a conversation that's not scripted and it just comes naturally, I think you can just really grow from the conversations because you both are finding things to discuss. You're pulling nuggets and insights and thoughts, from one another, and you're building upon that conversation. And it's even more than just that. You're building relationship with the person that you're having this conversation with, and that's something that you can't get when you're scripted, and so it can be very organic, and your audience wants, they want us to be authentic. They identify with someone who is just real, who makes mistakes, who stutters, who doesn't know how to pronounce someone's name, And so it's just something naturally because this is, the people that we are. We're just imperfect people living in a world that's imperfect, but being created by a perfect God. And so I think the conversation has just been, for me, it was, insightful. It was an opportunity for us to have this conversation that took us on a road that we did not plan. We did not say, okay, this is what we're going to do at this hour. It was just something that came naturally, and we just flowed with it, and right. That was, very insightful for me.
Wow. Wonderful. Thank you. So this is the time, that my famous thing that I say, we could talk about this for hours. However, right? I'm going to ask that if you have a last thing that you want to say. There's been a lot of wonderful things that you guys been shared. This has been great. But if there's like a last statement that you want to say, anything that you want to, a blessing or anything like that, we'll just go one by one. Tandis wants to be first, so we'll let Tandis go first, right? and we'll then add other people.
I just wanted,
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of build on what was just being shared, and thank you for creating this container, because you've created a container that, and there's some real magic. I mean, as a container creator myself, I mean, I really love studying the alchemy and the magic when there's enough structure to create a space, a sacred space, that then magic can happen in, alchemy can happen in. People can come together and create synergy in. And I was just thinking, as people were reflecting around the one word, and how not only the container you created of it being live, allowing for real connection, allowing us to actually listen, to be in conversation with each other as opposed to pitching and delivering. It's a really powerful container that you've created. And the one word creates a ton of freedom, as Michelle was talking about, and the live creates a ton of freedom, but just enough tethering to create a container where magic can happen. So you've done that. And I'd just be really curious for people to reflect on, they've already shared a number here, but for all the guests of your show to really reflect on, you know, the ripples that you've created, whether that's through inspiration, what's possible, giving people an opportunity to uncover and to go deeper rather than skimming across the surface, but to spend an hour going deep into something. You've created an amazing container this year, so huge respect to you, and it's been a gift to be a part of it.
Well, thank you very much. Dixon.
Oh, well, when you asked me to be on the show, I was actually, I was just giving thought to it. And this was stuff that I was working on myself. So when you asked and then you gave me the word, it kind of like confirmed the alignment and the journey that I'm on. So I was just like, oh my God, this is so amazing. But here's the cool thing. I've already gotten my word for 2021. And it's blessing. So, and you have been saying the word blessing and stuff like that. So it has been, I don't know, I'm sitting over here like, oh my God, like what is going to come about of 2021? It is, I'm really excited. And when I think about this, and when I think about 2020, again, it's been a tough year for all of us in some capacity, whether it's mental, emotional, financial, spiritual, physical. We've all been challenged, right? And so when I think about this, it's like there has to be a blessing. It's what? I don't know. If you believe in God, it may come from God. It may come from the universe. But there's a blessing in this. And so what I would like to focus on and leave with is looking at the blessing in regards to self, right? Looking at favor for yourself, looking at bringing happiness to yourself, looking at showing and having mercy towards yourself, being able to appreciate who you are. So as we walk into 2021, becoming more intentional on looking at blessings for yourself. Because if we're able to turn that around, I think there's going to be a sweet spot and something magical that happens between human and human. So thank you, William. I really appreciate it. And yeah.
No, this is great. I mentioned on our show, I met you a number of years when I worked at Elon University and you were a student, and I am so glad that I remembered of our connection. Right? Yes. We weren't disconnected. There was this. I wasn't aware of our connection, and I'm so glad to be able to connect to you again. Yes. Now, Elizabeth, I brought you in. It's like we were like wrapping up, and you're like late to the party, but it probably wasn't you. It was probably because we were full, right? But you know, we're just the house was rocking, and it's like wouldn't let you in, right? So I am going to. I don't know who has to leave. I am going to stay here, and if it's just you and I, Elizabeth, talking for like 10 minutes or something to kind of let you have an opportunity to share it, we can do that, or everybody else can stay. But if anybody has to go soon and want to give their final thoughts, you can go next, or we can introduce Elizabeth to this conversation while we're doing that. Paulette.
Yeah, I just wanted to give final thoughts because I do have to get off.
Okay.
But this has been amazing. It really has. And I just pray blessings upon you as you go into 2021, and all of you who are on here. The opportunity to come and share our word and share from our hearts has just opened up some great doors and connections, really, because had it not been for this, I would have never been introduced to, those of you who are on here and how you've shared and elaborated on the word that you've been given for, 2020. So thank you, William. I appreciate you. And I look forward to being on in 2021.
Well, wonderful. Blessings. Thank you. Anyone else? Now, Manuel, it's like getting late, later in the evening for you, but Cabrina, is that?
Take Cabrina first.
Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, awesome. Thanks. I just wanted to really go off of what Dixon was saying of, finding your word for the year and focusing on it, because there's so much power. Like, we take for granted what our brain can do. And just by focusing on one thing and putting it on what's called your reticular activator, which is basically the frontal lobe of your brain, and putting it at the forefront of your thoughts, your brain finds ways to make it happen. So I'm so excited to see what Dixon's going to do with blessing. And I'm so excited to see what other things you're going to be pulling into this show, because you pull in so many interesting words that people don't normally think about. They don't put a whole lot of ideas into, like Michelle, for grief and consciousness and things like that. So just focusing and seeing what else comes out of this for 2021, because I think that this year and 2022 are going to be amazing, because we've seen what really bad can look like, and what, as a whole world together, which doesn't normally happen. We don't usually experience things as a whole world. So really being able to have that common ground with everybody that we come into contact now for years to come.
Thank you for that. The one thing that I've added to next season that we're going to have is, I had a guest ask that I not tell him the word, and that I give him the word live, on air. And so I tried that, and it was kind of entertaining. Because you know how when you guys get the word, a few days before, and everything that goes through your mind, just imagine doing that live, right? So that's what was happening, because it's like, oh, I hate this. Wait a minute, I like this. Okay, I don't know. So that's how it was. So
that was a great show, William. That was a great show. I love that.
Was it? So within the invitation now, I said, hey, I typically give you the word and give you a number of days to look at it. Would you like to know the word before the show or not? And I've been looking at, January and February, and there's a lot of people who do not want to know their word. So it's going to be very interesting shows to go from there. It's like me, I'm concerned, right? So, but they're like excited, and I'm like, oh my God, so that's going to be fun. So yeah, it'll be definitely different with that. Manuel.
Yeah, thank you at first for doing this again. I mean, this is really great format you're doing here, and I'm very grateful for being on here. And it's not that late here, actually. It's 6 p.m. So not going to bed soon. But yeah, thank you. And there is actually a little announcement I want to make. I dug around and thought, am I really saying this now, or am I not? It's not too late yet, but now it is. So I was also thinking about going live again. I did it weekly. Sometimes it didn't work. And as you said, you won't do it if it's just twice a week or 3 times a week. But you will do it if it's daily. And other friends of mine are doing it as well, going on Instagram daily, just saying, have a beautiful day and whatever. And I never wanted to be that influencer guy and so on. So I didn't do it. But you what you are doing here is a beautiful example of having a channel to the world and expressing what you want to express, or hosting other people who express beautiful thoughts and their associations with the world or whatever. So this is my commitment for next year. Just being on, I don't know if live or recorded or whatever, but being on daily and having having at least a few words. And my invitation for everybody for the next year is rediscover your inner goodness, be love, be kind, be the change. And thanks again for having me. It's really an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Manuel. So Elizabeth, I want to bring you in because I didn't see any hands of people that have to step out right now, but I was looking. Our word was temporary, right?
Yes, it was.
So yeah, there was some revelations that came up with that. So reintroduce yourself and tell us how your word is still showing up for you.
Yeah, so my name is Elizabeth Pampalone. I am the CEO of Absolute Marketing, where we help small business owners to create all of their marketing content for 1 year in 5 days. And oh my gosh, temporary has been very interesting for me this year, and I have chosen one for 2021. And I think a lot of the things that were temporary this year have ended up creating what is going to happen next year. So I created a company that I'm ending up not using, that I ended up realizing was not the right direction for me to go. So that was temporary. I created another company that ended up failing and folding during the pandemic. It like shot up like a rocket and then just dropped like a rock. And that was temporary. And I also have seen that, you know, different things that we've been living with are temporary as well. And there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there is, you know, an end in sight. So, but all of that has actually led to what is going to be happening next year for us and for me and my company and in personally. And so I've really seen that word be very poignant and useful this year. And also just, it kind of is a hopeful word. You know, I've always seen it as hopeful, because this is not the same forever. It's not going to be the same forever. It's not going to last forever, whatever it is, good, bad, indifferent. And so it's something that we know change is always going to happen. That's the only constant thing is change. And so I think that the word temporary kind of encapsulates all of that feeling into one word.
Right. So yeah, there were so many things that I got for myself in the moment of our conversation, and that I have to be reminded that, you know, because I look at a situation, I look at, you know, something that's happening good, and I think, oh, okay, this is going to happen. Okay, I finally made it, and this is how it's going to be, and then it's gone. And it's like, crap. Oh yeah, it's temporary. Damn it, right? You know, and just like that, you know. And it's the same thing when there's a struggle or there's a disappointment. That it's like, the more that I embrace that this is temporary, and yeah, I may have pain, there may be tears, there may be disappointment, but it's temporary. And to go there. So thank you. It's reminding me of not just the word, but how I was feeling during our conversation, as I think I was coming back from a retreat. It's like coming back from vacation. You're so recharged and like ready to go, and then it's like, oh yeah, I gotta get back to work, right? you know, type of thing. But it was a good
life's
trend.
about to happen again. Yeah.
Right. It just to kind of go from there. So, does anyone else have any final words that you want to speak? Gloria Ann.
Okay, so as I'm listening to everybody, and then, you know, the word of 2020 and thinking of a word for 2021, I decided just in, you know, the last 15 minutes that I'm not going to have a word, but a feeling. So I want to approach 2021 with a feeling or an energetic flow of
Wow.
wonder. And
Okay.
here's my thought process for that. So if I approach something in wonder, like I wonder how to do a podcast, right? So then I go into this learning phase, and then I go into the participation phase, and then I go into the create phase, and then, wow, here I am. I am being the thing that it was that I was wondering about. And I think, that's what life is about. It's this learning, this being, and this flow. It's this give and take of experiences. If you make a mistake, I think I'm going to try not to make that mistake. But if I do, that's my learning experience. If I have, I just lost my thought. If I have this place, in this wonder, it's beautiful. I think as children, because, we just had Christmas and there's a magic of Santa, but really, but what do you call that? Spoiler alert, Santa is really the parents. But it's that magic, that wonder that I feel like we lose as adults, so we don't see the magic in every day. So I'm gonna live in that kind of magical, wondrous being energy for 2021.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's a feeling. Yeah, I get that. So, Rendell.
Okay. Riding upon what Glory just said, my word, I'm going to choose the word transition.
Transition.
As we get older, as we get more into what it is we think we want to do, transition. I see 2020 as the beginning of a real serious transition for everybody. 2020, the impact of it is not going to go away. I'm not just plugging for my book, because my next book that I just sent to Lisa is called 2020 Near Perfect Vision. Now, it's not a plug. It's an awakening. It's something that I don't think we're going to be able to ignore. The year isn't over. What is happening isn't over, and a lot of us still seem to think, well, it's going to be in the past soon. But there's some realness that's happening, and this is not the forum for me to go into it. But what I do know is that for me, I have to prepare to be in the position to speak, to model, to emphasize that we all are in transition. And that's where I'm going to be at the beginning of 2021.
Wow. Well, thank you. So I look forward to that. It's like you, like every time you open your mouth, there's a new book, right? So it's like being in the flow of your life. There's just a book within it. So that is great. I'm so glad that I'm connected to you, because I know I have a couple books in me that I'm just not talking about, right? So I honor you for that. Michelle, did you anything coming up for you?
Yeah, I am feeling rebellious because I don't want to choose a word for 2021.
Got it.
And, this year for 2020, I had 2 words, which was consistency and discipline, which have benefited and blessed and promoted my life this year. And I was thinking, okay, Michelle, you don't want to stay in rebellion. So what is 2021? And rather than just let it be what it's going to be, what came up was the phrase that I have been repeating to myself the last 6 months is going to be what I continue to manifest and what 2021 will be for me, which is show up every day in your life, keep walking, and choose gratitude. So that's 2021 for me.
You got a sentence there, right? There's some things happening in that. So no, thank you. Thank you for that. Elizabeth, there was a question. I don't know if you were able to watch some of the show earlier, but a question that I asked everyone is that what went through your mind when I invited you to have a one-word conversation?
Well, I was on a mission this year to be on 100 podcasts in 2020, and this was one of them. And I did make it. So
congratulations!
Yay! Thank you. And when I initially accepted it, I was just like, okay, another notch in my goal that I'm trying to reach. And then when you said it's just one word, I was like, okay, well, my normal talking points, whatever, I have to like figure this out now. And so it really made me think about, what I was going to say and how I was going to relate it to what I do or relate it to what I, deal with on a regular basis. And then when we actually started talking, I like to just kind of come into things a little colder. So I agree with the people who don't want to see the word. Like I like that because I like to think on my feet and have that kind of interaction. Right. And so I almost kind of came into it like that. I thought about the word a little bit, and I know I've used that word previously in other talks I've done and things, but it was very interesting for me to have the conversation with you when you were in a place and you were having your own thoughts and emotions, and I'm over here having my own thoughts and emotions. And so like we actually had the conversation. It took totally different directions than what I had even thought about when we first, when you first asked me. So I thought that was like really, really cool that it didn't have this rigidity. It didn't have this preconceived notion because it was organic. And I think that the best conversations are organic. Even if you have some time to prep or some time to, think about it or whatever. I just felt like it was more organic than even probably both of us had anticipated, because we did get into some stuff that hadn't even crossed my mind. But then when you have a conversation with someone, especially somebody like you, who is curious and has good questions, and you have this like thirst for knowledge from other people, that's when you have a really good conversation, because not only can we have this back and forth, but you can ask questions that I wouldn't even have thought of. And when I respond to you, then you have another response that's going to add to that and make it more meaningful or more, enlightening to the listener. So I think that that's the beauty of this particular show, is that, yes, it's sometimes like, Manuel talked about like every day is really hard, or like doing it all the time is really difficult to like get back out there and do it again and again. But I think that because you do so much of it, it's given you so much practice that at each time it gets better. So I had the benefit of coming later in the year, later in the timeline, not being the first person, but at the same time, like, I just feel like you gain that knowledge, and you also gain that experience of hosting and like really diving deep with somebody when they might not have even thought of that initially. But when you ask a question, or you've already talked about a subject and then you ask a question relating to it, it's like, yes, this idea, this thought, and then that can be a huge change for someone who's listening. I mean, I know I've listened to a podcast before. They're just having a conversation. They probably don't even think anything of it. And I've just been fundamentally changed. My worldview, my ideas, I don't know, whatever it is. And I'm just like, oh, I have to listen to it again now, because it hit me so, hard in that way. And so I think that when we first talked, that was kind of my initial thing is, yeah, we're just having a conversation, but you do it so well that actually I feel like it was not only impactful to us as we were having the conversation, but also to the people that were listening later on.
Great. Yeah, it's taken me a long time to like embrace that. Because sometimes when I watch some of those earlier shows, it's like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Why was like, why didn't anybody tell me to stop? Just stop, stop pushing go live, right? But to really, and even where I am now, that feel like, I know some things, there's not that many technical, issues. And, I feel like, I kind of have a plan, which sometimes it's like I don't, right? Type of thing. But I'm just being present. The more that I'm just present, then what needs to show up shows up.
Yeah, and I think that with podcasting, this is something that is so unique about podcasting. Is it's not like television. You can't get canceled. If no one's listening to your show, you're going to keep doing it anyway because you're using it for your own personal growth. You're using it for your own, consistency, your own habit forming, whatever you're using it for. You're doing it to start with yourself, and you're hoping that it impacts and inspires someone else. But you can't get canceled. And I think that sometimes with television, some of the best shows get canceled because, well, nobody's watching it because they're working out the kinks. They're exploring something. They're doing something different or new. And that's what I love about podcasting is that you can keep going, or you can stop and start and change things and adjust and learn and grow without fear of being canceled, in that way. And I think that's what makes it so successful, that after 6 months, a year, or how many ever episodes you've done, you start to see that growth and improvement, and you can be more inspiring and be more inspirational because of the journey.
Right. Wonderful. So we are coming down to our final thoughts. So I can start at the top with Riddell, and you can have any final thoughts for today, this year, whatever you want to leave everybody with. And I won't be surprised if you have another book.
Well, the truth is, William, I do have other books, 3 other books that's coming out. And like I said, this isn't something that I just woke up one day and started doing. It's been there. I've known it, but I had been ignoring it. So the reality is, once I began cooperating, it just started to flow like water. The truth is this, right? 2020, in our lifetime, there's never been a year like this. So what can we expect of 2021? Well, I'm getting my sword. I'm getting ready. I'm not going to sit by and allow earthquakes and hurricanes and people's words and the devil's lies. I'm not going to sit by and allow all those things to shape what happens. I am going to allow God's word to take me wherever he wants me to go. Because in truth, without his word, where are we? What are we doing? We're trying to do our own thing. We're trying to be independent. So the reality for me and for my family and for whoever I speak to, I'm going to say, you know what? God's coming back. Let's get ready. That's where I am.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. It's definitely been an honor and a privilege to know you and to still to continue to learn about you. Gloria Ann, any final last words, right?
Final last words. So TikTok lets you do the longest length in 59 seconds, but the attention span is 8 seconds. So here goes my 8 seconds. Without all of the stickers and all of the crazy things that you can do on TikTok. Go out and do it. You are here for a reason, and don't let fear take you over and stop you from moving forward.
Right.
That was probably less than 8 seconds.
But effective. Thank you very much. And I'm sure we're going to be talking again, or at least I'll see you on TikTok, right? Manuel.
Double final last words. Yeah, just Gloria Ann. Wow. Yeah, I really love these 8 seconds, and I was thinking about just giving my other 8 seconds to her, just to beautiful. Thanks again, William, and everybody on here. And as I said before, discover your inner goodness. Be kind where you can be. Don't beat yourself up for not being perfect. Be yourself, and do what you can to make this world a better place in what way ever your potential shows up. Thank
Wonderful.
you. Be loved,
Thank you,
be
my
the
friend.
change.
Michelle.
Yes, I am just ending with honor for you, for this connection, for this year, and gratitude for you, for this connection, for this year. Honor and gratitude for all that was, all that is, and all that shall be.
Wow. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Elizabeth.
Yeah, so thank you so much for inviting me and allowing me to be on the show this year. I do appreciate that, and it definitely has been one of my more popular episodes that I've shared out, so that's been
Thank
good.
you.
And I'm glad that it was. And I do also, just want to say that I do want to echo what Glorianne said, because I am a doer and my clients usually are not. That's why they come to me. But that is something that I think those of us who are doers need to encourage the ones who don't have that initial inclination. Like, keep telling them the same thing. So Gloria and I will be beating that drum every 8 seconds to go and do, because and like Manuel said, we only have the time we have now. And that is for us to go and do something. So,
right.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. A large part of my coaching and the conversation that I believe that's current present for me is in the framework of be, do, have. And I think in the past we have been doers first, and then having all the stuff that we're doing, and then there's no connection to ourselves. And so the more that we get an awareness and connection to how we be or who we be, then there's a doing associated to our being. And then we have the life that we want. And so yeah, at every level, there is some doing, because this year has given us an opportunity to find out who we be. So I'm going to leave everybody on the screen as I do my final thing. It is, thank you very much for being here. This has definitely been a pleasure. And I invite you to be yourself and live your life, because the world wants you, the world needs you, but the world isn't waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great new year. I'll see you tomorrow. And my special guest is my wife. So pray for me. No, I'm just kidding. So no, it is going to be fun, and we're going to end the year right. So thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow on One Word Conversation.
That sounds like good trouble.